today's topic is going to be a really good one. I hope you guys enjoy it. It is called The Power of Ideas. They kind of champion your ideas on the whole idea of why ideas fail. And it shows how we have a really hard time to champion our ideas and how difficult it is for us to get our ideas across and impact. And yet we know that we all have these ideas. We have these thoughts, we have opinions, and we have a really hard time expressing them, getting them out. Look, I'm not foreign to that. It is probably one of the most difficult things that I face in my professional career. Even today, I have a really hard time knowing how to present my ideas. I have to practice my ideas. I have to practice my pitches. I have to repeat it over and over again. I have to read everything that we're going to talk about. I go through that because it's a turmoil. There's some folks that are really good at it naturally. They learned it earlier. They learned it organically. But most of us really have a hard time with this. Okay, and so what we're going to cover really. I love the topic I love the title that I want to give this talk is why don't you want what I want? Okay, there's actually a book. What did I do with the book? It's right here. Okay, it's right here. I read this about 10 years ago, and I really highly recommend it. Why don't you want what I want? Okay, it's written by Rick Maurer, and it is spectacular. Look, if you only get one or two items from it, it's really worth the cost. Very, very, very practical. You're going to hear a lot of what I say from that book. And so what I want to talk about is the power of ideas. Why we as managers and as leaders, we need to understand that if we don't know how to communicate our ideas, then we won't be able to impact the organization as much as we want to. And we can't make it as productive and as efficient as we would like because we really have a hard time knowing how to get our ideas across. Also, we don't realize that this whole issue of ideas is the very one factor that either motivates or discourages our people. We as managers, especially middle managers, especially supervisors, I hate to say this, we kill ideas way too fast. We kill ideas way too often. We filter ideas, and we don't let the folks above us know what the teams in the front lines are thinking, what they're saying. First of all, because we don't know how to tap into those ideas. Second of all, once we tap into those ideas, we shoot them down. We make it difficult for those ideas to come up. For those solutions to come up. And thirdly, when we do get them, we have a really hard time knowing how to move those ideas up and pitch them back up. So it's not only hard enough for us to get ideas, it's hard enough to go pitch those ideas because the folks above us do the same thing to us. They shoot our ideas down, so then I got to go tell my frontliners, look, I can't go anywhere with this. And so that's where the blockage of innovation happens. That's where the bottleneck of ideas just crumbles. And so the point of this is, first of all, what we're going to cover today is for you as managers and as leaders, for you to recognize the power of ideas. All right, and what to do about it. I'm going to give you some very practical tips as we talk through. And I'm going to start off by dissecting the video that we published out there, the one that I just showed you, and give you some practical things, not only for the person presenting the ideas, but also the one receiving the idea. All right, so the video that I'm talking about.
We are just lousy presenters. You got to prepare, you got to stand up, you got to have your presentation ready. What this movie brings out is the idea of, no, I have something to say. And that's why we're calling this segment, Champion Your Ideas.
So what we're going to do is we're going to dissect this a little bit at a time, but I wanted to point that out to you. That first portion that I just showed you is that that we have something to say. Most of us have something to say, and it is a real mistake that when we hire people, that within the first 90 days they feel like, well, I can't say much because I'm new around here. Okay, I can't say much because I don't want to I don't want to rattle the cage. I'm new blood. Okay, and I don't want to come across as though I'm being critical. And so the newbies, the ones that I call newbies, we don't invite them to speak up because they themselves feel very hesitant. But they've already made observations about their first impression. They had a lot of excitement to come in, and they started seeing things they may or may not like, but they don't feel like they can talk to anybody. So I'm just going to keep it to myself. So it's a real trap that they put themselves in, and then we put them in, because they don't feel they can say anything during the first 90 days. But then once they pass the 90 days, they don't realize that they're now part of the problem. They're part of the group. So they lost their opportunity to speak up because they're newbies, and no one's asking them, hey, what are you seeing? And so if you heard me in the video, I said, look, we have something to say, is especially newbies and folks coming into the organization, we have to tap into that. All right. But now those that have been existing, they now have a track record with us and have a bigger perception of what's going on. If we're not tapping into that as well, then we really are shutting people down. And then we have the audacity as managers to say, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Don't bring me just what you think the problem is. Bring me ideas. Okay. And yet we don't realize how much we're the ones that kill ideas. We're the ones that make it very difficult for ideas to come through. Okay. So the power of ideas is incredibly is big. Here I'm going to quote, you guys know how much I love movies. So the character Cobb in the movie Inception, he says, a single idea from the human mind can build cities. An idea can transform the world and rewrite all the rules. And it's true. As managers, we have to keep this in mind, because we don't know where in what brain that next awesome idea, and you have to realize that most ideas start off as bad ideas. I mean, it took us decades and decades for us to finally put wheels on luggage. I mean, why did it take so long? I mean, we created incredible technology, and yet it wasn't until the late 70s, early 80s, probably 90s, where somebody realized, we probably ought to put wheels on luggage. I mean, how many times did that idea get shot down? Most of the great ideas that I've heard and I've seen implemented started in one session where that idea was getting shot, and that person persisted on being heard. So remember, managers, you want to be heard. Your executives want to hear you. Your teams, they want to be heard. You want to hear them. We're just not good at this. Okay. All right. Let me give another quote. The power of thought, of idea, is immeasurable. The world is dominated by thought. So as a manager, one of the most powerful things you can do is ask folks, what do you think? Hey guys, what do you think about what just happened? Hey guys, what do you think we ought to do? And see, that's not as hard to do. The difficult thing is once they talk, once they say something, what do we do? Okay, because it's easy to ask, so what do you guys think? And then when that answer comes back, we react in such a way because we don't know what to say. On the back end, I'm going to give you 4 questions that you need to practice, so that you can replace what we normally do. In a minute, I'll show you also what we normally do, how we kill ideas. And we need to replace that interaction with something else, all right? And so remember, the power of thought, of idea, is immeasurable. It's immeasurable. You can't measure it. The world is dominated by thought.